Yes, let's keep appreciating our guest of honor this morning, the Supreme Court Judge, Sir Dennis Dominic Ajay. He's come through a lot. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for granting him and us, your audience. A Supreme Court Judge, who is our guest of honor, has come through, as I said, unauthorized use of pesticides. He's talked about conventions and environmental laws and protection, regulated vehicles, air pollution. We interest you to know, last year I moderated a clean air conference, and he said about 9 million people died globally of air pollution-related illnesses. So it's that serious. But maybe when you hear the figures, we do not put it into perspective. He talked about other segregation of waste. Do we do that in our part of the world? Put plastics, try not to see the sign. But still, people will mix it all up. Then those who collect the waste as well. How do they collect it? Do they pick up the segregated waste, or at the end of the day, all the work you've done goes to non-learning? So quite a lot. The lecture we have been through this morning, let's appreciate Sir Dennis Dominic Ajay. Thank you so much, sir. I want to acknowledge the media houses here. Thank you so much for carrying this alive and circulating this. Climate Watch is here. Thank you so much. Joy News as well. Ghana Television, Max TV, Ekunsi TV is live, so you can go on Facebook and follow the feed there. Thank you so much for being here. Erasmus Asaredonko, who's Journalist of the Year and a climate activist. Galamsey reporter, please, let's appreciate him and his work. He goes through a lot, life-threatening, actually, to bring you the stories. My father will say that journalism, there's not much money in it, but it's dying to tell the story. And, being in journalism, I really understand what he meant by that. Thank you for coming, Erasmus. Also, organizations that are, here, heard about the ELL 2025 and decided to come here because they've been advocating for environmental sustainability and better land use are the Ministry of Climate Change and Sustainability. The reps are here, Gold Board, Pan-African Center for Climate Policy, of course, that are organizing this. The tertiary institutions being ATU, UCC, University of Ghana, Kasi Energy as well, Climate Change Organization. Thank you so much. I'd like to welcome my co-MC now to join me. She is a media personality with CW Radio, and Gilda Hannah, ladies and gentlemen, please let's appreciate Gilda to come up here and assist me. Thank you so much, Gilda. So we will be doing the other speakers a bit later, but Gilda has some other parts of the program for you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I would like so much to call now. Welcome the presence of our revered traditional authorities who continue to be the custodian of our land, culture, heritage, and values. Please join me respectfully to invite Nana Elder Esi Brepon, Otono Grade B12 from Ekomofin, Asia. With a clap of hands. Again, Nana, Okumeyin, Jeju, and Son, Ozikan the first from Ekomofin, Asia. And again, Elder Dr. Nana Impre, the seventh, Otono Israel. The eighth, Ekomofin, Isa, Chofahim, of the traditional area. Nanano Yamana Yamana Tanasi. This lies heavily on your shoulders. Because we are talking about land. And you do the selling of the land and all that. So thank you so much for honoring this invitation. Next on the bill, we welcome a traditional cultural group. They are very vibrant on stage. Shall we welcome, by putting our hands together, for Afri Muda, all the way from Pekut, my motherland, or my mother town. climate change and sustainability. So please, if you can come to the podium and then give us, thank you so much, sir. We'll be giving 15 minutes to each speaker for this session. We have 4 speakers and then we move to the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
I would like to confess that it's definitely a very difficult task to come after such deep, eloquent, various presentation by this worship. But my only consideration is that I'm not here on my own account, but on the account of the minister. So I'm the challenge. And indeed, I would like to acknowledge the distinguished presence and chairmanship of Crunchy, who the minister holds so much respect for, especially because we were on the ground. Most times we see chiefs who, at the executive level, we've seen you move around on TV, radio, from Jubilee House to our office, and so I convey to you the utmost respect and recognition of the honorable minister. And by extension, to acknowledge the presence of all the chiefs who have come to join me, and of course the distinguished presence of very respected Lordship, Sir Dennis J. Then of course all of you who have come from far and near, carry the witness of the Honorable Minister, who would have loved to be here, but for presidential call, he could not make it. The Minister truly identifies himself with today's gathering, bridging African traditions with modern land use for a sustainable future. And rightly so, because the minister shares kinship with traditional authority, because he himself is royal, and so he understands very well what it means when royalty or traditional leadership must be put in the forefront. And he so acknowledges that the land we walk upon is not just soil. It is the bedrock of our culture, the heartbeat of our identity, and the soul of our heritage. He acknowledges that for generations our people have nurtured their land with reverence, guided with indigenous knowledge and wisdom. Our faces unprecedented pressures in corporate development. Today we see the inventions in extractive industries, rapid urbanization, real estate, all come, and of course climate change, threatening the very land that we have. As Ghana positions itself for an accelerated economic growth, the big question we must ask ourselves, and the minister asked that I convey to you, and for you to ponder by this discussion, is how can we modernize without losing who we are? How can we build without destroying the foundations of our heritage? And this is a question the Honorable Minister poses to all of you. I think that from the panel session to our discussion, we will just that. The minister asked that I convey to you that he envisaged to establish a climate change and sustainability hub in Ghana to serve as a center of excellence for innovation, knowledge exchange, research, and policy coordination on climate resilience and green development. This hub will not only support national decision making, but also strengthen Ghana's leadership across the sub-region. In addition, it is also the vision of the minister to establish climate change and sustainability units in all the, and please, if there's anyone here who is hearing this topic for the very first time, I think that we owe so much gratitude to the very respected judge who has taken us through the very detailed approaches of the law. And myself, the interpretations he gives, most of them, is very, very revealing. And this is what the minister is saying, that we want to establish a climate change hub and unit at the district municipal level to ensure that all climate sensitive issues are well incorporated, not just at the EPA level, government level, but right at the district. He acknowledges that land in the African worldview is more than an economic commodity. Land is our sacred, it's our communal, and our source of identity. All of us here, when it's festival, we say we are going back home. It is our ancestral calling. And then when we get home, we say that on Saturday, family members are meeting. So it is not just about returning to the space, that returning to your cultural identity. And what we see, real estate development, extractive businesses, and then other corporate interests are taking over this place. We are also learning from our peers. When we go to Kenya, Community Land Act is leading the way in terms of how indigenous ideas are incorporated. In the Philippines, Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act and the Colonialist Ethnic Territory Entitlement also offer rich and deep lessons for harmonizing tradition with law. The Minister acknowledges that traditional leaders are not just custodians of land, they are architects of sustainability. And if you dare that, ask yourself, which or what company will be able to go to any community without knocking on the doors of the chiefs, of the leaders? Think about that for a time. We complain about all the companies that come to explore our gold, our bauxite, but which of them will ever come to my own village in Jerusalem or yours, Zalalu, and will not see the chief? So the minister is saying that traditional leaders are not just custodians, they are architects of sustainability. They are the gateway, they are the gatekeepers. And that if we incorporate their leadership in terms of land governance that the very respected judge has spoken about, then we'll be able to harness fully the dividend that comes from that. He has asked that I convey you to 5 key reflections. Number 1, we need to ensure equitable governance that respects communal rights. We need to promote the free, fair, and informed consent. People come to rent lands or come to purchase lands that they're going to use for a project, only to turn around and they're doing other things. We need to be able to document all these processes. Let us strengthen traditional authority. And here I look to the very respected chiefs who are here. The minister is asking that we strengthen traditional authorities. And when we say so, it means that they are strengthening by cascading down to the very low. Sometimes it's only the chief at the highest level who knows some of these things. But to show you that sometimes the head operator will know about this. To show you that sometimes even the household folks don't know about this. There are people whose family have so much land, they don't even know the demarcation. They don't even know the title. They don't even know the succession plans of these lands. Unfortunately, when that top leader, that chief, leaves, and there's so much vacuum, this is where companies get in and then they exploit the system. The minister is targeting the traditional leaders. Please build capacity and strengthen that authority of leadership so that we can fully integrate indigenous ecological knowledge in policy. The minister acknowledges that traditional values, beliefs, and systems were the very virtues and vanguards of the ecological space. So that back in the days, when they said this is an able forest, everybody feared to enter. And we saw how those forests blossomed. When we say that you cannot go fishing at this particular time, it is because you are preserving or you are conserving natural resources. So our folklore, the stories that we tell our children, don't do this. The monster will come after you if you do this. We don't touch this plant, we don't do this. Those folklore, those narratives, those histories are songs. They must come back to us. And they form the basis and the root of conservation in our society. In conclusion, it is the firm belief of the minister that we must rise above the dichotomy of modernity versus tradition. Because modernity has come to stay, but tradition will never go anywhere.
Cedric Zim, Technical Advisor, Ministry of Climate Change. He is the representative of the minister. Thank you so much. Okay, next on the bill, we have Dr. Patrick Essien, Deputy Director, Mining Department, EPA. He is also a representative of Professor Nana Mapram Kruchi, the CEO of EPA. A round of applause for Dr. Patrick Essien.
Madam MC. Kindly allow me to stand on the protocols that have already been established. I believe that today we are gathered here to learn or transfer knowledge, or some of us to remind ourselves about how we can save our own environment. The traditional leaders here gathered reminds me of my PhD student who defended his thesis in the United States on using what we call the Sankofa approach. That is, using the traditional leaders to eradicate this illegal mining that is going on. It's really, really interesting, and I'm sure very soon this will be on the net and we can check to read. So EPA actually started in 1974 as a council, and subsequently in 1994 it was transformed to agency. And in this January 2025, EPA became an authority. Before EPA became authority, we had 18 regions. I'm not talking, apart from the 16 administrative regions that we have, EPA had another region in Tema and that of Tapa due to most activities that are going on that are related to environment or that has environmental impact. And apart from that, EPA has few offices called area office. When EPA was given the mandate as an authority, and Professor Nana Brown Kuche was appointed as the first CEO of the authority, she has been going all around, working hard to open more offices in even various districts, because we have realized that fighting this environmental degradation and the issues that can destroy our environment cannot be done on screens and offices and conference hall, but we have to descend to the roots of it. And if this will be possible, then the proximity rule will not be limited to only CACOS, but it will be more important when it comes to fighting for the safe environment. So she's creating more offices in the various districts so that together we can fight or save our environment. Apart from that, we have been working closely with traditional leaders, and I know very soon or not long ago you saw in the media where she was installed as a queen in one of the communities in Water region, that is head to south, when she went there to open the office. When she assumed office, it wasn't long ago that she realized that as a mother and as a woman who cares about the society and the environment, our people around Keta, at the water basin, their lands are being taken away. So she quickly moved to the place to be with them and then do assessment to know how best that problem can be solved. With the president's agenda of resetting Ghana, it wasn't long ago that president himself moved with a full team to the place. And as I'm talking to you at the moment, the lands of Agabeji, Amutiano, and then others are not being swallowed or taken by the sea, as it was written in the poems of one great, I've forgotten the name, Ghanaian who came from that area, that in our home, the land swallows our really doing a lot. Apart from this, as far as this program is concerned, we have engaged or working along with Nana environment. A major role of EPA is commitment to environmental education and awareness creation through four area offices across the country works to engage citizens, especially at the early childhood stage, to promote critical thinking and community engagement. We all attest the fact that this is true, and not only the area offices, but you can see the CEO helping our able president, His Excellency, to reset the agenda as far as environment is concerned. In land management, EPA plays crucial regulatory role by ensuring the land use activities are environmentally sound and comply with national policies. To say a few, as somebody very close to the mining department, I would say that EPA is putting up much effort to make sure that the illegal mining that is destroying our environment is no more. One among them is that in small-scale mining in the days, there's nothing like environmental impact assessment, where we have an expert who will go grounds to do proper research about how those mining activities is going to affect the environment. But as our new LI is being put together, all these things are considered. So if you want to do small-scale mining, you have to have money. And after the mining, if you don't reclaim or restore the place, that money will be used to do that. For large scale and the medium scale, all those for us to see that, our environment is being saved by our own laws and the regulations that we have. So, EPA, once again, is bent to put in all the structures to make sure that the use of plastics is being reduced gradually. We all know how plastic is contaminating our sooner than later, you see it no more. Ladies and gentlemen, Nanano, I bring you the greetings from Environmental Protection Authority that is bent to ensure that Ghana's environment is safe and is sound for the citizenry and then the future of it. It wasn't too long ago that came to media how my CEO was so passionate that we will save our water bodies. Let me be emphatic here that both Mineral Commission and the EPA and then all the other regulatory bodies, none of it is illegal. So if you are mining on water bodies, they comment on the security to take you up because that is illegal. We are serious and we are bent to ensure the come is no more. I would like to bring you the greetings from my CEO and then the entire authority, and then say that this program is really great. We are happy that we are part of the program, and we will be happy to be part of the program in the.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Essien. He touched on something. Once a fisherman told me, so we carry about 10 parts of sachet water to sea. I should ask the fishermen what they do with the sachet water, what they do with it, because they don't come back with it. So it means all of it ends there in the sea, and later it comes to the shore, back to the shore. So thank you so much for touching on that. Shall we have Professor Martin Agro, representative of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. A round of applause.
Thank you, MC. As announced, I'm standing in for Professor Johnson Nyakubambo, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, the University of Competitive Choice. Yeah. Of course, to stand in the shoes of the Vice Chancellor, it's a huge task. Initially, I was surprised when he forwarded the invitation to me to stand in for him, because I know there are professors of environmental science, we have professors of coastal resilience, sustainability, and when he asked me to stand in, I couldn't say no. When your boss asks you to do something, you can't refuse, especially when you don't have a new job. Yeah, so I'm happy with the fact that whatever affects the land affects every one of us. My background is pharmacology, and I know that most drugs come from the environment. 25% of drugs used in clinical practice come from plant cells. So plants are importantly derived or discovered from microorganisms. These microorganisms are part of the environment, and of course, not to mention animals. So, you see, when we destroy the land, we are destroying even a source of medication, and that's why it's important. We must do a lot to protect the land. I'm happy to be part of this conference as a layman, and I hope to learn a lot. So now I want to switch into the role of the Vice Chancellor and to deliver his speech. The Chair, Nana ACCRA the 7th, representative of the Honorable Minister, the special guest of honor, Sir Dennis Dominic J. I esteemed traditional leaders and chiefs here, distinguished guests, climate advocates, passionate advocates of African sustainability, distinguished scholars, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to join you today at this landmark gathering, the ELL 2025 Accra Conference, where ideas meet purpose and purpose meets people with a shared resolve to shape a better Africa. I bring you warm greetings from the University of Cape Coast, a university founded on the ideals of transformation, impact, and social relevance. We gather under the theme, Sustainable Futures, bridging African traditions with modern land use in the face of corporatization. This is not just a topic of academic interest. It is a moral, economic, environmental, and generational imperative. Because when we talk about land, we are talking about our identity, our memory, about livelihood, and about the future of our continent in the face of climate change. At this conference, therefore, we converge at a pivotal crossroads and rich cultural landscapes. Yet, we face unprecedented challenges: land degradation, urban sprawl, resource conflicts, deforestation, illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, and the creeping desertification worsened by climate change. These are not abstract threats. They are lived realities for our farmers who watch their soils erode, for our fisher folks whose water are polluted by chemical runoff, for our pastoralists whose grazing lands are vanished, and for our children whose inheritance is at risk.
Let us take Galamsey as a sovereign example. What began as a livelihood option for some has become an ecological crisis for all. Rivers that once gave life are now lifeless. Forests once full of song are now silent. This is not just a policy failure, it is a collective call for moral clarity and decisive action. How do we bridge wisdom with innovation? The theme of this conference is timely and profound. It calls on us to bridge the wisdom of our past with the innovations of our future, to learn from indigenous ecological knowledge and to marry it with satellite data, AI tools, and modern environmental science. But more importantly, it reminds us that sustainable land use is not only a technical matter, it is a deeply human one. That means we must listen to the voices of the people who depend on the land, and we must center justice, environmental justice, economic justice, and intergenerational justice in every decision we make. As a scientist and university administrator, I am deeply aware that climate policy is no longer a matter of global debate. It is a moral call to action. Africa contributes the least to global emissions that bears the heaviest consequences. And encouraging our students to become stewards of environmental justice, and we are building institutional partnership that place Africa at the center of global climate dialogue. The role of higher education in land use policy. Institutions like ours have a sacred role to play to produce not just graduates, but problem solvers. That is why we infuse sustainability education across disciplines, from geography and environmental science to education, law, and business. We believe education must move from lecture halls into communities. It must translate into policy, into practice, and into progress. To stay relevant, our university aligns its programs with national and continental development frameworks like the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. We collaborate with local governments, NGOs, and private sector actors to co-create solutions, because no single institution, no matter how excellent, can navigate these challenges. This conference ecosystem seeks cultural respect because land is memory and our heritage deserves safeguarding, and 7, sustainability and economic growth, because these two must go hand in hand, not in opposition. Allow me to humbly suggest that we also tackle illegal land exploitation head-on, particularly in the form of galamsey. If left unchecked, it will undo decades of policy, education, and investment in just a few short years. Let us be clear-eyed and united in reversing this trend. Kindly indulge me to spend a few minutes to comment on navigating corporatization with specific focus on balancing economic growth, community rights, and environmental sustainability in Africa's landscape. Africa, no doubt, is at a crossroad. The continent's land, its most vital resource, is increasingly sought after by domestic and international investors for agriculture, mining, forestry, and infrastructure. This corporatization, while promising economic growth and job creation, often collides with the rights and traditions of local communities and the urgent need for environmental sustainability. In the next couple of minutes, I intend to explore the complex interplay between these forces, drawing on African case studies and emerging best practices to chart a path towards equitable and sustainable land use in the age of corporatization. First, let's start with the context, looking at the pressures and paradoxes. Number 1, land degradation. Land degradation affects up to 67% of sub-Saharan Africa's land area, threatening food security and livelihoods for hundreds of millions. Number 2, population growth, climate change, and poverty. These accelerate unsustainable practices, while large-scale land acquisition by corporations, both foreign and domestic, intensify competition for resources. Number 3, customary land governance. Customary land governance, which was once the bedrock of community life, is increasingly overlaid by state and corporate interests, leaving rural populations vulnerable to displacement and loss of cultural heritage. And 4, economic development. This is essential, but when pursued without regard for social and environmental costs, it can deepen inequality and ecological crisis. Let's look at some case studies, lessons from the ground. And I'll start with successes from community-led innovation. The first is farmer-managed natural regeneration in Niger. A bottom-up approach where farmers protected and managed natural regrowth, leading to reforestation of over 6 million hectares. Success hinged on strong social networks, communications, and local leadership, not top-down intervention. Number 2, agroecology in Western Kenya. This was a participatory project which engaged 100,000 smallholders in sustainable land and forest management. This led to rehabilitation of 7,000 hectares of forest and tripling farm productivity. Key to this success was patient community engagement, education, and collaborative leadership among stakeholders. Number 3, wildlife conservancies in Namibia. Community-based conservancies have restored ecosystems while generating income through tourism, demonstrating that economic incentives can align with conservation when communities are empowered. Let's see some challenges, looking at the winners and losers. The first, cashew plantations in Burkina Faso. While initially reversing land degradation, cashew expansion has sometimes displaced herders, marginalized landless migrants, and in some areas, driven deforestation and reduced biodiversity. Land reform in South Africa. Efforts to redistribute land have been hampered by high costs, bureaucratic hurdles, and conflicts between beneficiary aspirants and rigid business plans imposed by authorities. Participation is often managed, not genuinely inclusive, and long-term support is lacking. And thirdly, large-scale land acquisition in Uganda and Sierra Leone. Corporate investment on customary land have sometimes formalized tenure in ways that exclude local people, leading to tensions and undermining traditional governance. Let's now consider some key factors for sustainable outcomes. Recent research highlights several critical success factors for initiatives that balance growth, rights, and sustainability. The first is strong social relationships. Trust and communication within communities and between communities and external partners are foundational. 2, adequate incentives. Overcoming risk-averse behavior requires tangible benefits for participants, whether economic, ecological, or social. Number 3, long-term commitment. Quick fixes will always fail. Sustained effort and adaptive management are essential. 4, inclusive governance. Meaningful participation of all stakeholders, especially women, youth, and marginalized groups, ensures that benefits are shared and grievances addressed. 5, hybrid models. Combining traditional knowledge with modern techniques and business practices can yield innovative, context-appropriate solutions. Now let me quickly highlight some principles for policy and practice. To navigate corporatization sustainably, African nations and their partners should consider the following principles. Number one, recognize and strengthen community land rights. Secure tenure is the first defense against dispossession and the foundation for sustainable management. Number two, promote participatory and transparent decision making. Communities must have a real voice in land deals with access to information and recourse to justice. Number three, invest in education and capacity building. Equip local stakeholders to negotiate, manage, and benefit from new economic opportunities. Four, mainstream environmental safeguard. Ensure that economic projects undergo rigorous environmental and social impact assessment with enforcement mechanism. Five, foster multi-stakeholder partnerships. Governments, corporations, civil society, and traditional leaders must collaborate to design and monitor land use initiatives. Number six, monitor and adapt. Regular evaluation and adaptive management can correct causes, address unintended consequences, and share lessons across regions. I want to conclude by looking towards a just and sustainable future. I wish to state very clearly that the corporatization of Africa's land is not inherently negative. It can bring investment, innovation, and growth. However, without careful stewardship, it risks deepening social divides and ecological decline. The continent's future depends on bridging African traditions with modern land use in ways that respect human rights, empower communities, and safeguard the environment. African solutions, rooted in local knowledge, strengthened by fair governance, and open to global partnerships, offer the best hope for sustainable future. By learning from both successes and failures, and by centering the voices of those most affected, Africa can chart a course where economic progress, cultural integrity, and environmental health are not competing priorities, but mutually reinforcing goals. It is intriguing to read the observation from the work of Jahel and Lambi, published in 2024, just last year, in Sustainable Science. Their study looked for success factors in African projects that heal land and help people. According to Jahel, one of the authors, he says, I quote, "When you read the story, you see that there was a lot of work to communicate. They had to organize themselves to make arrangements with herders. So it was really a big movement with a lot of types of actions taken by farmers and local NGO at the beginning. And that had impressive results." End of quote. Let this be the model. Bottom up, inclusive, adaptive, and bold. The stakes could not be higher for Africa and for the world. As I conclude, finally, allow me to make a call to action. Let us leave this conference with more than proceedings and papers. Let us lead with purpose, with partnerships, and with a renewed sense of moral responsibility. Let us speak a new language of shared responsibility, inclusive policy, and generational accountability. Let us not just study the land, let us heal it. Let us not just measure impact, let us make it. Africa's land is not just soil, it's not just a resource or commodity, it is soul. It deserves our best thinking, our deepest respect, and our fiercest protection. Together, let us navigate this challenge with courage, with wisdom, and with hope. I thank you for your attention. May this conference inspire lasting impact for our continent. God bless you all, and God bless Africa.
God bless Africa. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you. With a hand of applause, let's acknowledge the presence of Honorable Dr. Koino, MP for Ekunfi. MP for Ekunfi, is he around? Oh, okay, away you do. A clapping exercise, please. Her Ladyship Akuna Goods. He's also a professor. He's also a visiting professor at Walter Sisulu University, South Africa, GEMPA, and the University of Cape Coast, and a research fellow at the University of South Africa. He is a surveyor. Hey, Prof. Surveyor Professor Emmanuel Banfo Eche. And he's a journalist. He's been in the media space for, I've known him for like 17, 50 years. 20 years, woo!
Thank you, Nessa. And the Supreme Court judge, as the guest of honor, with your kind permission, I would like to stand on the existing protocol. Well, as Nana invited me to make some remarks, I've listened to all the big speakers, and I don't know what to say. And also, I don't want to be called for plagiarizing somebody's speech. Since the judge is here, there's a thin line that can land me to, in people who call it Akafo maximum prison. So, please forgive me, I will not plagiarize. Thank you. So my discussion, as we want to make it more practical, I will not be more of the academia sort of it, but we want to relate with our everyday life. And so our focus today is to look at our infrastructure, to see how we can connect it with our environment, to look at the impact. We all live in a built environment premises. Currently, that's what we are doing. When we live there, we drive on the streets, on our roads. We go to our offices. So basically, we stay in an enclosed space for almost, I think, 70% of our time within a particular period of time. And so we're looking at the other senior brother. The University of Cape Coast is 60 years. Cape Coast University is 40 years. So they are older than us 20 years, and we are brothers and sisters in that realm of affair. Cape Coast University has our anniversary logo, and our niche area is on renewable energy, as the Supreme Court judge indicated about going renewable as well. So among the 10 technical universities, each technical university has their niche area, and ours is the renewable energy. So when it comes to renewable energy, please bring forward your children to People's Technical University, and you'll be given the best education in that regard. Please, next slide. Basically, climate change is here to stay, and we do see the adverse effects that it confronts us with. Usually, in our communities, especially those of us in the coastal area, you can see that the government has started engaging on sea defense because the rising level of the water is getting closer to where we live. Despite the sea defense, it is not the lasting solution to our problem. Many people who live in those areas, their houses, their habitations have been taken off by these sad events. Usually, according to a report indicated that extreme heat events that previously occurs in decades now occurs within weeks. So that tells us that it is here with us, and we are now feeling the adverse effects. Basically, as we go through this particular terrible situation, we are also not left within this challenging moment. And usually in the urban area, that is where we feel the impact at most. You recall that when it rains, it floods everywhere, including Accra, our capital. Why? Because of the nature of material, the construction activity that we are engaging. Now, most of our areas are paved. We do not have them having the grass or the addition that we need. So that this water, when it rains, it can get into the soil and now reduce the impact of flooding. But we all want to be on a concreted floor, hard floor, pavement floor, and rather it comes back to destroy us as a people. Please, next slide. So, in West Africa, we are told that our population would, increase, and many people who will be found in 2030 will be living in the cities. And as you recall, those who are from the Kofi, the MPs here, the traditional leaders are here, majority of your people are now coming towards the urban area. They want to go to the cities. They want to leave the rural communities. And because of this, they are increasing the population in these cities. And as people are increasing, definitely it will have an adverse effect on our God's environment, and that will result to the intensity of the needs that we do have. Please, next slide. What is urban needs? We want to look at the urban needs aspect of it. Next slide, please. So, urban needs, before we do the definition, these are the things that we'll try to answer at the end of this discussion, which is just within 15 minutes. So we'll try to address these questions. For example, please, back to the slide. We'll try to address some of these problems. For example, what are the causes and the impact of urban needs? What is the current state of regional need research in West Africa, and which Ghana is also part? And what are the challenges, and how can we also address these urban needs? Now, urban needs refers to the intensity of high temperature within the city. And so when the temperature is high, it affects the activities within that city. Hence, giving to effect called the urban needs island. Usually when you are in the city, you see that it's quite hot. Accra is hot. I just came from South Africa last week, and my friends who I met there indicated that Accra is hot. And that tells us about the effect of these urban needs that we do experience. And we'll be seeing some of those causes of those effects based on this analysis. In the next slide. Now, the impact, one of them is earthquakes. Usually, our life expectancy in Ghana is around 55 years. You see that when people are in the civil service or the workplace, even before they go on retirement, somebody has passed away, 58, 55, 59. But elsewhere, when you go to Netherlands, the average lifespan of them is around 75 years to 80 years. So you see an 85-year-old woman riding on a bicycle. In Ghana, that will not be possible, isn't it? And when that is the sad event that we see ourselves in this part of the world. So that tells us that this particular urban need affects our health. It also increases our energy consumption. Ghana, we are saying that we are experiencing high cost of energy because in this room it is air conditioned, and that brings our costs. Some of our big men in our cars will have air conditioning. So from the office, in fact, our business, our big men, our bedrooms, there's air conditioning. When we are sleeping, we put air conditioning. We go to the system with air conditioning. Enter into the car to the office air conditioning. Office air conditioning, the same thing. And that affects the energy consumption. It also affects our lifespan as well. So we think that we are living a luxurious life, then we are dying quickly. And so we need to, someone said, sarcophagus. We need to take it, bring it back, and see how best we live in our rural communities. And those who live in rural communities, they live a longer period of time because they always enjoy the natural ventilation. They sit outside to get where the trees are to give them the pure oxygen that they need. Next slide, please. Poor air quality is also another important aspect of it that also affects our cities. In Accra, when we look at the research finding that we have, Accra, our air quality is very bad. We don't see the what we hear go a long way to affect us. Then we also have what we call the water stress. And usually in some communities, you open your pipe, your water is not coming because the water company is having difficulty in getting the needed water to our homes. And talk alone, the currency issue as well also affecting it. So these are some of the causes and implications that result. Then another one is the ecosystem disruptions. And this is also relevant. And we see that in Cape Coast. For those of you who are from Cape Coast who love to go to the beach, we go around the beach area, and I don't know which governmental authority, and excuse me to say, EPA is also there. I don't know who gave them the license to cut down the trees and put restaurants at the beach. And we are so excited that it's creating job and it's also killing us at the end of the day. So the question is that what are governmental authorities doing to engage in this? As the Supreme Court judge said, all these things are stated in the Act. But when it comes to application, then nobody cares. And we are so excited that Cape Coast is opening. There's, recreational activity going on along the beach side. But virtually, our coconut trees are no more. And we are so excited to see those restaurants on our beaches. And that's the sad event. Now, these are some of the research findings that we did in Accra. Basically, we tried to use a remote sensor to find out the effects of what happens in our surroundings. So you can see the reddish color. That tells us our coca, our road, our static road. When it's static, it generates more heat. And so when it generates more heat, it also affects the other heat island as well. You can see the cars, they are quite, the body is green or yellow, which is okay. It's not too bad. If it is blue, that's perfect. If the car is blue, it's perfect. But when it is yellow, it's a little bit hot, but not all that time. But look at where the impact of heat is. The road, somewhere around the engine. You can see the vehicle. Somewhere around the engine. And this analysis that we did, we observed a vehicle that is not under the tree. Received direct sunshine, and that was the effect. And the quota was also another part. So our engineering of our road, we need to now ask the question, why is it that our asphalt should be black? Who brought that theory in PhD? Those of you who have done PhD, we want to question the theory and come out with some real knowledge. So the question is that why is that our asphalt road is black? Why not white? Why not the other color? Why black? I believe the road engineers are here, they will find out those answers. Now this, more of the areas as well. Now the one that is in blue is under the shed. So you can see that these are surfaces that have some shape in it, and so the last one there, you can see that at least is quite good. Then we also have the others there, which are a little bit blue at the extreme top there. Blue is more of the vegetation aspect of it, where there are grass. The ones that are red are the asphaltic road are blue. Thank you very much. That point here?
You don't want to, just a point.
Just a point?
Yes. Because we don't put the other one. Just
with our building as well. That is the first picture there is a restaurant that has a roofing sheet of aluminium in nature. Most of us have aluminium roofing sheet in our buildings with different colors and those things. We are excited that we want to use aluminium roof, and this is the nature of how the building is. So it also generates some heat in it. All this, the down one there, you can see something like a human being. So we have a human being standing outside, just directly where the sun is shining. There's no tree or whatever or canopy there, and you can see how the color is and the cars as well. Business lights. Good. And the ones in the blue, you can see that these are the canopy that are providing shade for them. It can be trees that are there, and you can see that the blue nature is very good in terms of not radiating or retaining heat from the sun. So that tells us that there's something wrong with our infrastructure. The materials that we use that also contributes to high temperature and at the end of the result affects the urban heat as well. Please, next slide, please. Next slide. Good. So, apart from the day, in the night too, we also experience high temperature based on the urban heat island. So in the night, there's also high temperature that also affects as at times when we want to sleep, we are not able to sleep well, and so some decide to put air conditioning in. That is another factor that also affects this. And usually with our architects who are designing, the type of material that they design, the openings that we use in the infrastructure also go a long way to contribute to this particular endeavor. Next slide, please. So yes, I've mentioned some of these causes in terms of the asphalt road. So for example, we're talking about the asphalt road. Why is it black? Why should we use a black color for our asphalt road? It also contributes very high temperature because it things that heat on its surface. Then what we also observe that in most of our areas when we are building, we want to pave our entire compound or our office space. We want it to be nice, Each of us are aligned to have some vegetation, some green grasses around there to beautify the place, as well as to reduce, enough water from being retained on that floor. We don't do that, so we lack vegetation in our premises. Waste heat from human activities. We also create that particular issue. As the guest speaker indicated, he said that he doesn't understand when he sees a vehicle, whether it's a car, and who is even driving it, whether it's a human being, and the people in it. And he forgot to have added that those who are passing in daily, whether they're also human beings. So, Prof, I didn't plagiarize you, I'm just acknowledging you. I don't want to go to another. Thank you very much. So this, what happens there about the heat emissions that also affect the space that. The dark surface, as I've mentioned, is there, air pollution, and building intensity area. Now we want to also build high-rise buildings. We have narrow road, clumsy, because of our land tenure is owned by land. Unlike elsewhere, where the government regulates the land, and so you know where to build. In South Africa, I went to a place, and the entire area was just hotels. I was asking, why is there no residential building here? They said no. In that place, they have a well-made plan for residential facility, for commercial areas, for churches, and elsewhere. But in Ghana, our government owns the land. And so at times, people buy and just put things, you put a church building at the residential area, and the neighbors keep on complaining. What can you do? So these are the situations. That's the effect of climate change. This particular one was taken, I think, somewhere in Cape Coast, where the road, portion of the road was taken away by the effects of flooding. Yes, please. What are the solutions so I can end my boring discussion? Increasing green space. We need that. We need to increase our green space. Let's go back to our rural communities where green spaces in terms of meditations and what have you are being encouraged. Let's go back and start implementing it. In fact, in Ghana, we have the Ghana Building Code, which was established in 2018. Even now, it's more or less of education. We are trying to educate our students in the tertiary institution, and the planners, building inspectors in the district assemblies on the implementation of this. It's not yet implemented. But Chapter 34 of the Ghana Building Code is focused on green building. And almost all these things are addressed in that green building, and why people are putting up building, developers should implement that. There's a need for us to look at our aluminum roof. We need to look at the colors. If you use red, blue, black, all those colors retain heat. Those colors that do not retain heat are so like the same type of color, the silver color type. They radiate. They do not retain the heat. But what do we see? We want to be buildings to be beautiful, but yet to spend money in that. Then we need a permeable pavement as well, so that we can allow water to pass through. This is Care University. The first picture is Care University. Care University is green. Those who have attended Care University have an alma mater. The green area, and that's what I love at Care University. And Erasmus will also acknowledge this. Then I went to an airport in the US, in one of the states in the US. And this was an airport, just like Kuta Airport. Assuming Kuta Airport has a tree inside, it will not have air. We don't, if we do that, it's a village airport. But this is the US. This is the US. And that tells you how they enjoy natural things. Next slide. And this, I visited Liberia just last month in Monrovia, and this was my hotel that I was lodging. And this is the hotel, which is green building. They use vegetation to decorate the cladding, the walls. You will say in Ghana, you will say that those snakes will come. That was the snakes will come. And in my compound, I have a plantain there. And then somebody came and told my grandma and my mom rather that snakes will come to your compound. So if you put plantain in your compound. And she was fast to cut down the plantain because of a snake. So please, this is how green building is. And in Ghana, it's sad that in most of our buildings in Ghana, only 60 buildings are certified as green building. And most of these 60 buildings are commercial buildings, like EcoBank and the rest. But our own residential facilities are not certified. Before you be certified, your building should be using 20% less energy. You should also have 20% less water usage. You should also have materials that are eco-friendly before your building will qualify as what? Green building. Meaning that your water that you use must be recycled, so that you can use the wastewater after recycling it for other things. Your energy, you must not depend on the grid for 24 hours. You should have another source of energy, like solar panel. Apart from that, even ventilation. This building should have openings like newer blades, not sliding doors. Sliding doors or sliding windows accommodate 50% of air. Newer blades accommodate 100% of air. But what do we see? Our big men and women will build, our architect will come, I want a glass window, sliding window. I've seen it in the US. Meanwhile, US is a temperate region where they want heat. They don't want cold. The in Ghana, 36 degrees Celsius, we still want to close our roofs. But we live like prisoners in Ghana. And that is why we are dying at early age. So now in the US, they started solution. Now they started painting the road white. This is in Los Angeles. And I was there some 2 years ago, and the construction guys are now changing their road in Los Angeles to white. Why? Because this is an albedo technique. Because when you paint white, it reflects the sunlight. It gets back. It doesn't retain the heat, unlike the black one. The same thing happens in Greece. Most of their buildings. The only place that we paint our buildings white, British Council, the court, some of the court, I don't know if the Supreme Court is right. The Supreme Court is right. But the commercial court or high court, they have carved in nicely some yellowish or brownish color, which is not the best. So let us paint our buildings white. All of us, that is a take home here. If you don't do anything at all, go home, make sure if your building is not white, paint it white. Paint it white. Then please, I believe Nanamu and whoever is listening to us, you take this to the Minister for Roads to make sure that our engineers, we start having some liberal change with our asphalt road. In the US, it has been done. We can also do it here. Let us try. Don't just paint our zebra crossing white. We can paint the entire road white so that we can reduce this urban heat. But there's a project currently going on in Ghana, which I'm part, which is called the Measurement Verification Reporting of Climate Change, partnership with the Ministry of Science and that's environment. Basically, it's a Canadian project which Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, you are all, and Togo, you are part working on this urban heat island. And very soon, we'll be having an extensive edition. This is the right platform to start this edition so that next time we see, we want to paint our roads white. Please, next slide. Let me run up. Next slide, please. Okay. So another aspect that we want to engage is our architects. Our architects should help us to design buildings that are friendly. One, we should allow them to design in a way that any building that we have, we should always admit natural light, unlike artificial light for 24 hours. So that in case there's no light and it goes off, the roof is supposed to be in a way that is transparent to have the direct sun so that we can have our light in here. Our openings should be at least more than 50% of the wall ratio. Just like British Council, what they have done is good, but the only issue is that the cladding, they will have fixed it with lower blades throughout. And you just open the lower blades, and you don't need this air condition by this time, so that you can reduce that. We need to apply this. These are things that we can apply. You can tell our architect that this is what I want. I don't want things to make it to run costs. At times we look at the running costs, we don't look at that. We only look at our initial cost, but you don't look at the effect, the timeline effect of the cost. And please, I want to also encourage all of us, solar panel is not expensive. I'm using one and I'm enjoying one. But every day, I pray that they should be doing so that I can benefit from my solar panel. Because when they don't do, I don't benefit from it too much. So please, let us go for solar panel. If you go to Germany, US, European countries, they have limited sunlight, but yet they are using solar panel. We go there, we are enjoying it. Why is that we can't use it? It is not expensive. Let us try and focus and use it. Then you cut down selling costs, your energy consumption, what have you. At this point, this is where we want to end today. I hope I'm not bored today. I'll thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Wonderful presentation. I'm sure you've taken down your notes because Laura said a lot. Information of lands, the kinds of buildings, and these days even the green grass. We have green grass again because it looks like the ASTROTEF has taken over all of the green grass and the heat from the ASTROTEF. I mean, I know ASTROTEF is in business, but our natural, environment, instead of cutting down the trees, by having them for windbreaks, especially up north, the desertification is creeping in there, and even the Bono area. So let's appreciate Rob for his presentation. Very, very insightful. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your patience sitting through all this time. We're just going to take a short cultural trip interlude, and then our panel discussion will begin. They have removed that foundation. Thank you. the equipment. Okay? Yes. Thank you so much for your patience. And lots have been said. I don't want us to waste too much time because the panel discussion that will happen, you have the opportunity to ask questions of the panel. It's not all the people always say that we have all the beautiful laws, and here we will read the implementation of these laws is not key. So the people at the Health of Affairs appointed by the President, people who are resident to those grants and agencies they have, will be here so that we'll be able to ask them the burning questions. How do we make Ghana better? How do we make our environment and land use work for all of us? So we'll be taking on these questions, but after the discussion, then we'll be the panel discussion. Let me just let you know that the first panel discussion, the topic will be on policy frameworks for the future, balancing corporate interests and community rights in Ghana's communities. And I'm going to see who our distinguished panel members are who will be coming on stage for that discussion just before we go forward. Let me also create an indulgence and let you know that certificates Please, everybody, please join the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please come up here. Everybody, please. Thank you so much. Please let me. Hello. Please. Okay, this will work. ready? Okay. Rashida. Let's all say more action. More action. Nice. More action. More action. Got it? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, my first panel discussion is happening now, please. And right after that, we'll go for lunch. Thank you so much. Yeah, the next lecture will happen. Thank you so much. As you take your seat, so that I told you the first panel will come up stage. Let me acknowledge His Excellency Wilberforce Andrew is the 2024 Independent Presidential Candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, please settle down for me. Thank you so much. So now, let me acknowledge the presence of the Vice Chancellor of ACCRA Technical University, Professor Amedi Akapobi. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. I see you. And welcome aboard. His Excellency Wilberforce Andrew 2024 Independent Presidential Candidate as well is here. Thank you so much, sir. Our first panel, our moderator for this panel, and I did say the panel discussion is going to focus on cross-cultural dialogue, learning from African communities. I beg your pardon. I'm doing you panel 3. This is actually corporate land acquisition. No, it's not corporate land acquisition. It's policy framework for the future, balancing corporate interests and community rights in Ghana around the EU. And for this panel, our moderator, our Angel Amenya, she is the Executive Director of Child Online Africa. Please welcome Madame Angel Amenya on stage. Community engagement. She played a key role in drafting Ghana's gender education policy and advocate. Okay. Thank you so much. We're just appreciating your laurel. She will be the moderator for this session. Also, Professor Martins Edward, representative of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, will join us on stage as a panel member. Prof. Okay. Mr. Cedric Jelu, Technical Advisor for the Ministry of Climate Change, Rep of the Minister. Mr. Cedric. Ashes, can you please help me get Mr. Cedric? I believe he's outside exchanging some pleasantries. For the panel, Mr. Cedric Jelu, Technical Advisor, Ministry of Climate Change, Rep of the Minister. And Dr. Enoch Bessa. Dr. Enoch Bessa, you okay? Thank you so much, Doc, for coming. Dr. Enoch Bessa is a senior lecturer in the Department of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He possesses extensive knowledge and expertise in agriculture and environmental engineering and management with a focus on climate change, soil and land use, science and engineering, water resources, ecosystem services, as well as integrated assessment and modeling. And so his goal is to leverage his experience in a leadership role to advance the fields of hydroclimatology and ecosystem services along with related disciplines. So while we assemble the panel for this session, let me conduct a little exercise. I'll be back. I need to assemble your panel for you, but whilst we're doing that. Our speakers have said quite a lot, and so I just want to find out from all of us what are some of the interesting things that we didn't know before we came here today, and which the presentations have told us. Is there anything that stood out for you in all of the presentations that we've had this morning from the various sectors while we assemble the panel? Yeah, the panel is gathering up. So can I see hands, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much. You've been so wonderful and patient, enduring all of this. Who is my first speaker? Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. I've learned greenhouse and then ACCRA should be posted by as well.
Have somebody else want to say something impacted by all of the conversations we had today? Anybody else? What's that from? Please show me a message. Thank you. One of our panelists of the session, representing the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. Okay, so it looks like we are eager to get started on the panel session. So we're going to start. Madam, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to this panel. In fact, so for our panel, we're looking at, so this is what I decided to do. Having listened to, for a long time, I haven't had a keynote address, which is actually a keynote address. In fact, it was a crash course that we had yesterday. And thumbs up to the Lordship, because most keynote speakers don't go that way. They don't do the heavy lifting. So they come to give us the surface tension, and then they go back, they go out and then ask yourself, okay, what are we here for? But this was a crash course. So much to learn from it. And as such, we were supposed to be dealing with 5 questions. But then looking at the composition, I don't foresee the 5 questions going round with everyone. So, with the powers vested in me as a moderator, data for this session and looking at us achieving our goal of having a well-structured community at the end of the day, which will be implementable. I have decided to regroup the questions into 2 key questions only for our discussion. So we look at the policy and legal framework for equitable sustainable development, and then we also look at community empowerment and collaborative governance. So please, finally, I will read the question, kindly pay attention, and then I'll call on you to say something brief about yourself to the audience, or we are not going to have the time to do that. So just a minute, just for each sector, whilst we take you to the presentation. It's the same thing you do already. However, I just reorganize it. So whoever I call first will be the suspect. Yes. So the question is, how can Ghana reform, innovate its land use policy and legislative framework to both safeguard indigenous land rights and promote sustainable development?
I didn't know they had such a bright light here.
How can Ghana reform and innovate its land use policies and legislative framework to both safeguard indigenous land rights and promote sustainable development? That is it.
Sorry, we found the phone. If you know your phone is missing, please see it too, so that you can get it. Thank you.
So, who would like to do first? We're looking at the policy gaps, we're looking at recommendations, legislative frameworks, and all that. Who is looking? Can we have more money?
All right. My name is Francis Francis. I'm a senior lecturer of law at the University of Cape Coast Faculty of Law and the University of Ghana. And I'm also a researcher in business and human rights. So basically, my PhD looked at the oil and gas sector and the environmental issues in respect of the United Nations Guiding Principles of Business and Human Rights. So I'm a bit biased when I'm talking about environmental issues relating to human rights and how we can balance the acts whilst we talk about environmental issues, whilst human rights issues of the business people that are protected. So on the respect of the question as to how to innovate and reform our legal environments, basically for sustainable development. One of my papers on environmental reform, legal reforms in Ghana, a chapter published with Professor ACCRA, the Dean of the University of Ghana Law School. We're looking at the various legal framework of the Ghanaian environmental sector, and how over the time we are able to reform. Thank God that we now have Act 1149, the new EPA law. So basically, if you have seen a Ghanaian where they will say Ghana has a plethora of laws and it's left with implementation, but we disagree to the extent that for every human environment, what makes us distinguish from the species is the animal kingdom. It's regulation and law. So we argue that we must continually reform our laws, make the laws situate and fit the purpose of the time. Hence, if you look at the change from Act 490, the EPA Act to Act 1149 as we have now. This is why we are innovating and reforming the laws. Now, so in order to have a sustainable environment from the legal point of view, it means that we must develop the law to suit the current situations of development and modernity. And so we cannot be saying that we have the laws and there's method of implementation. Whether it's implemented or not, as humans and our characteristics and nature and the changes, we must be able to reinvent the law and the legal environment to suit the exigence of the time. So, in order to direct the discussion to the question, is what I was saying is that through some of these functions, through some of these conferences and policy gatherings, we must be able to come out with papers that are subject to our own conditions and our own situations. And that is what sustainable development is supposed to mean. We are able to adopt our values, cultures, and traditions, what we call the element of environmental justice, to situate into our own conditions and make sure that we reform our laws, make laws to situate or suit our environmental conditions. And let me dive into my research on business and human rights. That we talk about environmental sustainability, we talk about development to suit our conditions, but we must not also do that to the detriment of the survival of the people and their human rights. So we have to balance the act. Whilst we are protecting the environment, we must also make sure that the people will be able to live and survive today. So I argue that even the sustainability talks about giving the future generation the ability to live, we must also deny the present the ability to live well. Because we are also the future. So we should not deprive people of the human rights of how they should live, in order that they can also live sound for the future to also survival. And this all will come to how we are able to incorporate that into laws and rules and regulations. And we should not leave that in the vacuum. And when we do that, we need to balance the act to serve today and to serve the future in a very sustainable manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Honorable Othniel. My background is really in finance, however, I'm the environment and lawmaking for that matter. So I will not be sharing this data in terms of how we can sustain our environment and things of that nature. I'm happy to note that if I listen to the speech of the speaker from the Technical University, he did mention that they have put across a bill basically to help to regulate our environment and issues bordering on land. I think from my perspective, what I would like to emphasize is that yes, there are many laws in Ghana. However, it seems that they are alien to most of us. And then when it comes to implementation of the contents of the law, it only happens that when there is an issue or you find yourself in the remit of the court, that's where we get to hear about it. Which brings to the fore the importance of education in terms of making people understand the laws governing things on environment and climate and land use for that matter. As lawmakers, we work with many arms of government. So if you come to Parliament, for instance, we mentioned the Select Committee on Environment, we have the local governance structure, and we also have the Education Committee as well. All these arms of government help to coordinate activities that border on the subject matter today we are discussing. So for me, I think it's imperative for me that given the opportunity in Parliament, when such a bill comes, which is intended to promote issues of sustainability as usage of land, environment, and other things, it is our duty to support it and also to make it a point that the education part of it is centered on various aspects of the community and even tailor it to meet specific needs of communities. Because obviously, if you come to a coastal belt, the discussion may be different from somebody in a forest zone. That's one. Number two, the funding for such programs remains critical. Without funding, you may do all the laws, you don't promote it well, people to understand it, it becomes a white elephant, which is something we also need to look at. And of course, the collaboration between all the various arms of government and agencies that are responsible for environmental issues and the sustenance of it becomes critical for all of us. So in a nutshell, from my perspective, I think that as lawmakers, whatever laws that we put across or we pass in Parliament is supposed to sustain whatever intention that is accompanying it. Therefore, I would encourage everybody to be part of this discussion. I think that it is good for Ghana and it has come at an opportune time for us to be able to consider it and be able to work around it to make maximum benefit of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes, sir, you have it. But before you come, from the two submissions, I was listening keenly to how the customary land tenure system could be protected vis-a-vis the corporate investment. I haven't heard much of that, so you could touch base on that just to when we run out of time, at least we have something that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Martin's ECOP. Like I mentioned, I'm a pharmacologist. Pharmacology is essentially the science of drug action. So I'll give my layman perspective. Yeah, on the issue you just talked about, on our customary, yes, the customary land rights specifically. I'm not sure whether it has full legal recognition or clarity in our statutory laws. So I think one area we really need to look at is to strengthen the legal recognition of our customary law rights. We know that the customary land tenure system does not have that. I stand to be corrected, but I don't think it has that full legal recognition or clarity in our statutory law. So I think a way to go is to codify and harmonize our customary and statutory laws in such a way that it protects the communal ownership of our land. I'm talking about how we can reform our laws and the rest. You see, the issue of land degradation and the land use and all the rest is not just a social problem, it's a political problem. And there has to be that political will, to tackle the situation. We have all the laws, and I don't think, even if we don't reform our existing laws, the law is sufficient to really deal with the issue we are talking about. My brother here talked about the fact that they have not given license to anyone to mine in our water bodies. But our water bodies are heavily polluted. They are all gone. And who are the people mining in the water bodies? Where are they coming from? They are not spirits. So I think the political will also, to deal with the issue is something that we really need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Patrick Essien. My PhD was in space geophysics, so I studied how the entire atmospheric activity affects our geosystem, our Earth, and vice versa, how land use activities also affects the atmosphere. Then we are talking more of climate change. So the Environmental Protection Act 1124, I think, mandates EPA to regulate all land use activities. Previously, before even Mineral Commission can give you a mining lease, you need environmental permits before. But now things have turned other way around. They can give you the license before you come for the environmental permits. EPA has the mandate to say that you can use this land or not, irrespective of whether the landowner has, given it to you, or Mineral Commission or any other authority has given you the permission to do whatever you want to do. With this, we go through many processes which our the Acts 1124, including the LI 1652 mandates to do any undertaking on the land. For example, I said it when I was reading my speech about environmental impact assessment. We have to assess to know air quality sensor, not fire alone, but every industry, so that we monitor how the air quality indices are moving on. Concerning the many activities, especially the mining, which are becoming so common in our part of the world. Yeah, EPA, we do strict assessment before we issue permits, and you will not believe that most of especially the small scale miners who are doing illegal mining, they don't have EPA permits. But the point is that EPA cannot arrest them. We don't have that mandate. So another institution has to take them on, like Professor was saying. According to the EPA Act, even Mineral Commission Act, it's clear that you can't mine on water bodies. People are there. So the law is clear. So the question is, who's supposed to arrest those people or take those people on? So EPA, that's a lot. Not only environmental impact assessment, but we even go on to do what we call social impact assessment. That is, we engage the community, including the landowners. As I'm sitting here, I'm traveling to Western region next week to do public hearing on a place that land use activity has to be, undertaken there. We have to engage the community at all the environmental impact assessment to know that does the community even, want that activity to go on, the assessment we need its effect and then other things, though it may not be all that too negative, are they welcoming it or not? All these things have to be done before EPA issue any license or permit for you to conduct any activity on the land. Apart from that, we also monitor. So when it comes to EPA, our acts mandate us to monitor all the land use activities. So we have a department or unit called compliance unit where they go around to monitor all those activities that are going on, how it degrades the land, and then others. Also, we also have another mandate to make sure that you reclaim the land or you restore the land. That is after you perform some certain activities that we think will change the situation. Because in the environmental impact assessment, we look at one thing. You need to even come out with the ecosystem that exists in that environment, including the insect, the trees, and then other things. And in the course of restoring the environment or reclaiming the environment, you have to make sure that all those ecosystems are present to ensure that though you use the land, but you'll be able to restore the land back into action.
Thank you. I want to give the opportunity to the but before I make my remarks about what you said.
My name is Lopez. I teach and I do research. I'm from Kenya University. So on the question, I would like to start from land itself. As we have heard from our speakers, in Ghana, land is under the custody of the traditional leaders. So it's communal, it's for community. And we say the owners are either a family, a clan, or the stew. And we don't sell land in Ghana. We lease it for a certain number of years, which means that if the period is over, it must go back to the original owners, which is recognized by law. So our customary land ownership, which is the largest, is recognized by law. If you want this land, which is by law entrusted to the community, then the community might not, it shouldn't be just a part of the transfer of the authority of the usage to either the corporate organization. It should be part of all the process till the end. And when it is decommissioned, it can still come back to them. Like the community or the family is just part of, oh, you are invited because we want your land given by the state to use it for something that we are going to compensate you for this land that we are going to use for the state, and that is where your role ends. Then, for instance, the society or the state does not use the land. How will I know what is going to happen? Although the policy says that when the state does not use the land, it must come back to the family. How will I know that the traditional ruler, who is supposed to take custody of the land and bring it back to the family, will do just that? So this is the reason why the owners, per our law, should be part of the process from the beginning to the end, so they be commissioned and they can still take part of the maybe reclamation. They must be also. Our revenue sharing on land management says that 10% goes to the stew, 25 to the traditional ruler or state, 55 to the district. What about the original one? If it's not the stew land, what about the original one? How much goes to him? And he has interest in the land. So those who have interest in the land must have a key role as long as the land is concerned. And that should be clearly stated that, okay, if revenue is generated, although you are compensated, you are entitled to this. The land will be coming back to you, so make sure that nothing happens to the land. When it comes back to you, you can still make use of it. But if I give it out and I have no control again, then whatever happens to it, I don't care. So if we really want to ensure that our lands are cared for and through the process of acquisition until maybe whoever is managing, who is ensuring that it is used well, when it comes back, our land will be maintained or protected, then the landowners must be involved, not just in the selling or leasing, but in the usage planning till the end. And to do that, we need to also digitize our customary lands. Maybe we might say it will be difficult because some of the traditional rulers, all the traditional rulers now, because of the importance of land, they have high surveyors. And they are taking, they know where their lands are, the ones that are in use, the ones that are not in use. So we should digitize them. Currently, if you go to Land Commission and you want to know what's the situation of a particular land in Ghana, you will be charged. They will say search, you have to pay. It should be free. It should be free to know that this land belongs to this person. It's under this traditional ruler. This is the current use or status of the land. You don't have to pay for it. If these laws are in place, it will be easy to monitor what is happening on our lands, and every citizen will, because I'm informed, I can even give an information of what is happening. Oh, this land was applied for this. Why is that they are doing that? And those who are responsible for managing the land, we should know that we cannot just give laws without assigning rules to specific people. If I see that the land that was meant for maybe it has been zoned for school, it's now changed. They are doing something else there. Who should I contact? When I go to the district land office, they might say that, oh, it is the chief who has done the rezoning and brought it. How was the community involved in the rezoning? Who was contacted? Is it the only custodian? Maybe the custodian since they are the ones in charge of controlling the land, are they the ones only to decide what to be done at a particular place on the land? If these laws are in place, I think corporate organizations will not just come and see few people in the community buy or get a land and do what they want with it. And when it's degraded, it will rely on the citizens to help with reclamation, as all the speeches were calling on us as citizens that we have a role to. Thank you.
So we'll take our last round of questions. It's not a new question, because I realize that in your submissions, some people touch on the second question that we have here. So what we'll do is to now give the opportunity for you to give your recommendations. What will be done to promote participation of the community people at the same time empowering them? One of them was what Rob has just mentioned, and I also heard from his submission what we could do for the next 10 years, which has to do with digitization of the properties. So clearly, what are some of the strategies we can do? In IT, we have what we call Internet Governance Forum. And Internet Governance Forum gives the opportunity to any internet user, regardless of your language, your economic status, or anything, to participate in conversations around how to ensure that the internet is giving you value that you want. So could we introduce something of a sort in land management as well, whereby the traditionalists would have communication to them, especially the laws that the law she spoke about this morning from part 1 to 4 have already been there. But how many of our traditional leaders understood them well enough? Could we have them in the local languages? Could we have them in an audio format? What do we need on the grounds in order to make sure that the local people are participating in the governance of the land that they say, the minister reminded that the land is an entity. So it has life and we need to maintain. How do we do that to ensure that everything is working well and by extension, our environment is safe?
So thank you very much. So when you talk about the land use and the various regulatory bodies, everything begins with our traditional leaders and then the people. For example, when you go to the beautiful mountains and the valleys of the Kwapin, you are not going to find this kind of land use activities that is degrading the land or the entire environment. The question is why? I think the traditional leaders there are standing to the task and the land belongs to them. So he said I should be short, I'll be short. Even like I said in EPA, when we are doing the social impact assessment, we include the traditional leaders. So it is incumbent on you to tell them that you allow these activities on your land or not. Without that, we cannot move forward. So I will encourage or motivate the traditional leaders that they should stand up to the task. The land belongs to them. The system or whatever you have, came to meet them. And their positions are also permanent. Because when I use Equapim as an example, when Otunbo speaks that this land is no-go area, irrespective of whether Mineral Commission has given the mining lease or EPA has given the permit, it will be very difficult to work there. So our traditional leaders should let their voice be loud. And I think that can help to, regularize the land use activities that bring chaos to our environment. Thank you.
Strategies. Okay. From a layman perspective again. I want to, we are talking a lot about the traditional rulers, but how much of the law is on their side is another thing. So I think we need to recognize traditional authorities
as co-governance partners. And it shouldn't just stop there. We need to institutionalize community representation in policy making. I understand EPA piloted incorporation of traditional leaders, youth groups, civil society organizations in EPA. I don't know if that has been finalized. If not, I think we need to finalize that so that we have community representatives, traditional leaders, youth organizations, civil society groups in these government agencies, so that when policies are drafted, they are part. But it appears the state, is operating separate from the traditional, is operating separate from what pertains within the traditional governance system. So I feel we need to, bring the traditional authority closer, so that we don't have a democracy where it is just purely the Western system of leadership without, although we carry them along, we recognize them, but we need to institutionalize. We need to institutionalize their representation in a number of these government agencies, and I think that will solve a lot of problems.
Right. Thank you. But don't you think it's because they are not empowered enough, that is why they don't participate in the discussion?
And I think that is exactly what I'm saying.
So that's fine. I just want to emphasize that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, taking from that lecture, and subsequent to the first question about customary land ownership in Ghana, I must say that in Ghana we have a mix, a land ownership system that's a mix of customary and the statutory laws. And in fact, customary laws even which we or has significant influence over statutory laws, to the extent that the Constitution and maybe the Land Act, at 1036, actually gives allodial title as the highest form of land ownership in Ghana, which means that the customary ownership of land is much more recognized before other elimination even follows. And so, if you look at the implementation of the Land Act 2020, there's a lot of engagements. Traditionally, there's all stakeholders were involved in making this role. So, legally, this engagement and customary land ownership is much more recognized in Ghana, and it's giving providence under the laws, constitutionally and even statutorily under the law. So that is, there's no much question about that. The question is about how significant and knowledge the people know about what land is. In law, when you talk of land, land is not just the soil. So, as we see, the law has the solo said it, Plato said it, what do you call it, principle. What means is that when people know that the land as bare soil is not just what we have, but everything on it, so that the resource on it is also part of the land. So that by elimination, we educate the people about what belongs to them and what belongs to the state, and the use of it. That is where implementation and compliance becomes very useful. So, what I would suggest, or my suggestion is that the reforms of the law that we have so far must go to the people and to understand what is their rights on the land use and what is their responsibility of the land use, as we see as the Supreme Court Justice positive. So, by letting them know their rights, things of their human rights, and that's my emphasis, and also their responsibility. If you don't allow them to use what they need to use to survive, then you cannot talk of what others can use. So there might be survival first. So when you get the survival from them, for the human rights to live, then you are just pushing them away, and you also have to think ways of also living before they think of the future and what stability and things. So my suggestion is that there must be engagement
and with the stakeholders as to what the land is and what is their take and what is their right to use of land, and therefore their responsibilities to the future generation.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to focus on the education aspect of this whole subject matter, because you find situations where the local authorities who own the land is inherited from the agencies that govern the use of land. In which case, while the town and country planning are busy planning the cities and how it's supposed to be structured, the local authorities are also interested in making money for themselves and also to fix some of the issues. We end up having situations where entities go buy land, not even probably checking the management of the land itself, as opposed to doing what is expected of them. So, it still comes to a lot of education and collaboration. The local authority, the various agencies responsible, like the LMDs that govern the districts in terms of use of land. If that doesn't happen, we continuously have the situation where there is a conflict in the usage of land as opposed to how the local authority seeks to expend land for various usages. And also, from where I sit as a member of parliament, I think beyond the policy making, probably we should go beyond just making the laws for the country, but also ensure that the various agencies are monitored to ensure that they are actually going and abiding by these laws to the benefit of the people. So, in short, I think that a lot more collaboration is to happen to help the various stakeholders as far as land is concerned, to maximize the usage of the land to benefit the entire society as a whole. Thank you.
Hello. I will add one strategy. Currently, the whole world to involve communities into what will benefit the nation or a community. We have what we call the citizen science. That is making non-scientists use their experience in a science field. And there are a lot of platforms that are being developed. As you mentioned, the Internet Governance Forum. As a nation, we can build something like that on land, specifically on land use, where whistleblowers can be rewarded. Because if we know a particular land is for a certain use, and a developer has bought it, and now it has gone beyond even the proper land that we can. One of the problems is wetlands are being used for residential areas. If whistleblowers are being rewarded because we have a transparent platform where anybody can log on, you provide the details, the one institution assigned to verify can go on ground, check, it's true, this land is for that, maybe it's a wetland, now somebody is selling it, is using it for something else, and when all that is done, the right thing is, maybe we put the person in the right place, we get the land from him, and the one who did it is rewarded. Citizens will not just be watching because they fear for their lives. I go and say it, maybe he's even a politician or he's even the traditional leader who is behind it, who will come and back me.
Yeah.
But if we have an open forum, somewhere that I can say it and I'm protected, we can, as a road, a pathway, we can reclaim and protect our land. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Nana Chair. Standing on the established protocols, this brings us to the end of our panel. But I think amongst what has been submitted is for us to look at digitization of our land for future use, empowering the community for them to also engage. So by extension, multi-stakeholderism. Land reform should be localized in such a way that it takes into cognizance the community needs. There should be monitoring of implementation so that sectors that are responsible will be held accountable when the need rises. And that's a couple more. And finally, I would like to also put on the table for you to consider turning the keynote address into a workbook, which can be used to empower young people before they get to even the stage of being elders in the community. Because that is the depth of knowledge which everybody needs by extension. So if you can kindly do that for us, we'll be pleased. Thank you and thank you for your attention. Okay, open mic session. So, 2 questions.
Thank you very much, Raul. Thank you, the panelists. I think you've given a lot to talk about. My concentration is on the law, population, and differential issues. You mentioned that you formulate a lot of laws, but for whom you are formulating the laws are not aware. They are not part of it. So we see that the laws are left at the shelf of the parliament. Is it a trap for us to fall into it before we get to know that the said laws are there? Or what are you doing to reach the public? We know NCC are there, but what is the linkage between you, the parliament, and the NCC to ensure that the public is aware of the laws? Thank you.
You will indicate yourself. The media is.
Thank you very much.
To what my honorable man said, so that we can answer it together. The issue is a very lot for the community. The land belongs to me. We are sitting in that, we are making law. I'm not aware. I mean, why you are making that law for me? Do you think that law will work? The land belongs to me. I have my purpose. I have the reason why I have kept the land. I have my agenda for the future. And you are here in Accra making laws concerning our land. Do you think I will allow you to get the work of that land? And so some of these laws are not working for us. The people who matter, you don't involve them. You don't even seek their attention. And you come out with the law. And you know all the land. You have the land. And whose land are you making that law for? So how do you say that people are making just sitting there making laws? What to them? The people who matter. Get the inputs. And that's why they have preserved those lands. And help, let them help you formulate your laws. And they'll be the one, those ones who will protect the land for you. You sit in Accra and you issue land to somebody to come and do on my land. I have preserved this land for 100 years. Somebody just comes to my community to come and mine on that land. I am not aware. I have my cocoa farm. I have my trees. I have my cassava. You add that person to come and pay me some bigger sum of money and take my land. Do you think I should sit down for that person to come and do it?
Oh, Nana, you cannot sit for that to have my which is why we are saying that from this meeting, the point is we need to have a multi-stakeholder approach. And we need to also empower the community well enough for them to engage. Because when someone is not empowered, it's difficult for the person to participate. They can bring this to Accra to be part of the discussion. By the end of the day, you go back and you don't know what to do. They have been talked about. But if you are empowered at the end of the day, you'll be able to make to state your fact that you reserve the land for ABC. So anything which should be done on this should be related to what you want to do. And that's all we are saying. So we have taken note of that seriously. You need to be involved. Thank you. And if it means bringing it to the local language for the people to understand, it has to be done. Persons with disability, it has to be done. Whatever means it, the community ought to be involved. So, you know, they've shot Ghana, so we want to react.
Thank you. Well, these are my personal comments. That in terms of land administration, as Parliament, we make laws. The interpretation of the laws is usually of the courts, and that is one. So when we make the laws, they are also responsible agencies for each of them made. For instance, the EP, before the Human Authority, Council Parliament, we approve it. Now, in that approval that is given, the responsibilities are outlined clearly. Again, it lies in the domain of Parliament that should EPA not comply with the responsibilities embedded in the law. Parliament is also responsible for calling the attention or inviting them to Parliament to answer why sections or portions of these laws are not being complied with. So there is also the portion of monitoring which Parliament has oversight on. So I think maybe that portion of it yes, we have to look at and enforce and enhance so that we can all get the benefit from. Coming to the next submission, again, it comes to the issue of collaboration. If the landowners are part of the land management system, I believe most of these issues will resolve and there will be peace in the system. Because it's really sad that Nana has reported in his mind to build a market here, when probably it is left for a school project. There will be a conflict of interest there. So it's very important that whatever you say that land has to put, all the agencies, let's say the district assemblies, working closely with Nanano, in this case, or landowners, will be able to help us address some of these issues so that we can have proper use of land that can benefit all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. The last person.
We'll take the last question.
Okay, I'm Roberta from Kasi Energy. My question is to Dr. Patrick. I want to know what is the status of our Galamsey fight? Are we winning or losing?
Hello.
Please give me my so that I will be able to.
I will need a better microphone so that by the time I finish, you know we are winning or losing. Okay, so I'll make it short. So, Galamsey fight actually is not, applicable to only EPA. It's an intersectorial issue. It's really complicated. It goes beyond Environmental Protection Authority. It even goes beyond Ministry of Environment, Science and Tech. And it goes even beyond Land and Natural Resources, okay, where Forestry Commission is. And then security aspect of it, and then others. So I wouldn't say that we are losing. But gradually, I know that we will get there. I think part of this gathering is part of the winning structures that we are putting in place. That is education, okay, and then also putting all security structures in place to ensure that, Galamsey will not be no more. Recently, they launched water police, effectively for water police. I think just last 2 weeks, Gold Board also launched task force. And Gold Board has, they came out with many regulations that will ensure that without some required documents, you cannot even involve in buying of gold and other things.
when it comes to the chemical usage and then other things, the question is where does it come from? Of course, most of them come through our ACCRA and then all our borders. EPA is putting offices at all our borders, including the International Airport, Yamahabo, and then Tamale, to monitor the inflow of these harmful chemicals that they use for galamsey or illegal mining and other things. So, as usual, Rome was not built in a day. This galamsey didn't start in a day. It's a gradual process. We need to solve this problem with our traditional leaders, our securities, media, and you yourself. So let's all believe that one day we will win. Thank you.
So thank you, panelists. The time is short, but you managed what you could do under the circumstances, which is fine. We think
Thank you so much. Panelists and coordinator, Madam Awo, Agent, yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's do a better for them. Expertly discussing and helping us with our policy frameworks for the future, balancing corporate interests and community rights in governance and reviews. Dr. Patrick Eze, Deputy Director of Mining Department, EPA, representing Professor Nana Mambra Fuche. Thank you so much, Mr. Crunchy. Senior Lecturer, Public Employees, CC, Honorable Dr. Odwell, Quayle, FP for ACC, and also Professor Martin Settler, Deputy of the Vice Chancellor of UCC, Mr. Secret Jibu, Technical Advisor of Climate Change, President of the Minister. Thank you so much. Now, we have to go for lunch. We want to acknowledge our media partners as well who've been with us since morning. Join us, Ghana Television, ATV, TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. After lunch, we want to thank you for but stay on. I forget myself. Stay on for the second panel discussion, which will be the role of education in empowering communities for sustainable land use. For that session, Patrice and Robinson, Nana Dr. Abraham Yetu Ansa the first will be on that panel. Our own Nana ACCRA, the seventh, will be on that panel as well. Nana Ukofojesi the fifth will be on. Professor Emmanuel Bamford will also be on that panel, moderated by James Addison, the role of education in empowering communities for sustainable land use. Thank you so much. If you have questions, please note them down when we come from lunch and we dive into that conversation. But the actions will help you to where the lunch will be happening. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please clap for yourselves. You've been so patient. Thank you. We're back in 30 minutes, 20 minutes, please. 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. So by 2:20, yes, so please go to your left. That table is there. The time for networking. This is an international conference. We have partners who are joining us from all over the world. And I did say it's happening 2 days, today, tomorrow, and the Canada version will happen as well. Please let to know each other. Let the land use, climate issues, environmental issues, plastic waste issues guide our conversations as we network, as we partner, as we take action. Thank you so much.
So this is you with Dr. Nina. Yeah, that type of work. They will be coming to the Canada.
Oh, so we want to make sure all of you will meet over there. Yeah, but yes, immediately after this, we'll be taking pictures. No, that's a photo shoot stand. So we'll be getting the picture, we'll be using them for evidence. You understand? Because they normally want to know if you are interested in it. So we'll be back after the John, we are hijacking. We are hijacking the camera. You guys, we are hijacking
There's no step here. It's dangerous. This lady has been in the wilderness.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
That's fine. All right. I'll go.